You're listening to the Patient Experience Blueprint with Intibio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Patient Experience Blueprint. I, again, am Megan Clark, and today we will be discussing referral roadblocks. So we'll be chatting about the communication breakdowns and logistical hurdles, and we'll be discussing various obstacles that the practices face when transferring patients between practices to specialties. So today I have Nate DeVries, our CCO and co-founder of Intibio, joining us again. Welcome back, Nate.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we'll just jump into our first question, which are the challenges in patient referrals. So what are some of the most common communication breakdowns that occur during patient referrals?
Yeah, I think it's really a two approach. I think there's the patient experience side, which is when we're actually passing records back and forth between dental offices or practices. Often the patient's expected to carry x-rays or stick memory cards, like just to get data from point A to point B. And so when you take a full pano, the file size is usually too large to email, even though you probably should be emailing. Like, people still are using email and various different ways to get things. Most common with the large file, though, is just like a stick memory, which you give to the patient. And that obviously has it's not secure. It's sitting in their car. So there's a bunch of problems with it, and the most being just that the patient has to deal with it. And it shouldn't be that way in a digital world. And then the other part of the problem is really just the inter-office communication between the two dental offices. The way we still communicate is either through a paper referral, which we might have given to the patient as well. We might have, if we're in a large metropolis area, we might actually have a few people we need to call and try to coordinate who can actually get the patient quickest. So there's actually just the booking of the appointment can be difficult, and finding who can do a consultation. And then it's really after that, it's the aftercare. It's like, when is the appointment booked? Did the patient go to the appointment? When is the treatment booked? Is the treatment successful? Like, when is it my part? When is my job to step in and finish off the appointment? And so I think those are kind of the three things you're dealing with, are like patient experience, inter-office communication just to book the appointment, and the third one is like the follow-up. Like, how do I actually know when it's been completed? Those are the three challenges.
Okay, I'm really glad that my dentist has never made me take a memory stick to a specialist, because it'd most likely be long gone by now. That's great. And then I just want to talk about key strategies that practices can implement to enhance patient care or coordination during referrals as well.
Yeah, I think that the first thing is that you really want to find like a good partner to work with. And so even if you think outside of like the software that we provide, is like, who are your key offices that you're working with, and making sure those relationships are solid. And so you can kind of align your system, even if you run two totally different systems and you're not necessarily treating patient experience the same way. It's great to know what their system is, and so you can kind of document that and understand, like, and explain to the patient, like, this is their process, and so this is what you'll experience. Yeah, no. So sometimes that means like you might have to give them a stick memory because that's the way they want the information, right? But then it's just coaching the patient through that, and like, that's how you kind of fix that patient experience. And then internally, it's making sure that you're making reminders for yourself to follow up.
Okay, that was actually leading up right to my next question, was internally, how can practices improve their communication with each other to minimize the referral roadblocks?
Yeah, I mean, it's communication. I think that we have a few tools. I think most offices are probably using email to communicate back and forth. It's obviously not HIPAA compliant. Most offices, at least, aren't doing it in a HIPAA compliant fashion, but it's probably the easiest way that most offices have. Otherwise, they're doing the old fashioned, you're calling, but you're really blocking up the phone line. So I do know that's just a struggle. There isn't really a good solution. There are a few solutions out there. I think that we obviously are one. We'll probably touch base on that, but I think that it's currently through email or it's through phone calls. And the latter being difficult because you both have to be available at the same time, or you're just playing phone tag.
And then, speaking of old-fashioned, how do you think practices can stay adaptable and responsive to changes in referral processes?
Yeah, I think it's really looking what's out there. Like, we obviously have one solution, which is trying to digitize, or not trying, it does digitize the whole process from A to B, whether it's the uploading of large files, whether it's the finding and booking an appointment, whether it's the follow-up process and making sure you're getting reminded. It'll even remind you that things have progressed. I think there's other ways of achieving that though, right? You could try to find yourself a HIPAA compliant email manager. You could try to find yourself another way of communicating, but it's really looking at what's available and what's going to be the easiest way for you to make sure you're getting information in a timely manner.
Absolutely.
Because really what you don't want it to be is become a patient problem, right? Because that's not the greatest patient experience. That's usually where treatment falls off, is when you put it in the hands of a patient rather than a health provider.
And then to avoid putting it in the hands of patients, but how would you say that patients can be better informed and involved in the referral process as well, just to, keep them in the loop, knowing what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's communication with your patients is always key. Like an informed patient is always like the best patient. So when they're in the chair, explaining them what the process is, letting them know what your process is for referring them, why you referred to them to a specialist, letting them know how you get follow-ups. Or if you do like it, like sometimes it's great just to look at the patient and say, when they let you know to contact us, please contact us because we do want to schedule you in, right? And especially if you don't have a system that's communicating for you, it's sometimes incumbent on you to actually engage the patient to be their own ambassadors for their treatment.
Absolutely. Okay. And then I just want to highlight and touch on our product, and if you could talk about how our product streamlines referral roadblocks.
Yeah. And so I think that what we do is we actually look at the problem from both ends, because I think you have both the referring doctor and the referee, and they both need different things at different times. And so what we really try to do is build a system that can be used by either person independently of the other person. So you don't need to both have the same software. If one of you uses Intivio, the other person can still get a login and interact with your account. And if they both have Intivio, it's even better because you don't need to log in. You're already logged in. But what we try to do is make sure that it's really seamless, that when you actually put a patient forward for a referral, as soon as the other office accepts it, you're going to receive a reminder saying, hey, patient has accepted this information. Then you're going to be prompted to actually fill out a form. And on that form, you're able to upload digital files. You're able to give the patient's name, phone number, all their medical history. And it can be based on provider, which is awesome because different referring doctors require different things. Obviously, not just because they're different specialists, but because even within the same specialist, they're going to have different forms like we all do, right? And so we're really able to tailor all of that based on the provider that you're going to be referring that patient to. And so the right information is there for them. And then the person receiving it's able to very easily track, follow up with that patient. And it's all built into your existing reminder system. So the patient's easily able to flow through.
Amazing. Okay. And then my final question for you is, if there's one single takeaway from the questions we chatted about today that you think practice owners should take away, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that you're partners with your specialists and specialists are partners with their general practitioners. And so it's incumbent on you to find a way to streamline this process, because this is both your patient and you're both responsible for patient experience. And so often whenever you do something new, there can be a bit of friction. So I think right off the top of my head, I think creating a username and password is probably a friction point for any software that you're going to have. And I think being an ambassador of your method is important so that people buy in and then they see the benefit of it. And so every good thing has a little bit of friction. And I think, you got to overcome that. And that might be talking to a patient. If you don't want to use a system, that's the friction. You got to let the patient kind of in on the fact that they're going to have to do a little bit of work to make this work. Right. Or it's going to be getting the provider to create maybe a login at first, and then that's done. So I think there's always going to be a friction point, but it's taking that friction point and understanding the benefit that's going to be derived from it.
Okay. Good to know. Well, thank you. So that brings us to the end of my questions today. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Nate?
No, I just think that I'm pretty excited that we released this product. I think it's awesome that we're bringing something to market that isn't really there. There are other solutions. So obviously people should do the due diligence, but I think what you'll find really quickly is they're not very great. They're more a file transfer system than they are a patient management system. And this really is patient referral management. And what that does is it really streamlines, makes it super clear where a patient is in their medical process. And everybody is very fully aware. So I really enjoy what we've done.
So do I. Well, thank you again for joining me. And if anyone would have any more questions, you can find our contact info in the episode description below and book a meeting with us. So thank you again so much, Nate, for joining me, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.